In the last video, we spoke about how important it is to have a medical insurance, a term insurance, a personal accident, and a critical illness. In this video, we'll understand medical insurance in detail. Now, to begin with, there are two types of people when it comes to medical insurance. One who believes that each and every expenditure for their medical bills will be paid by the insurance company. The second kind of people believe that this entire medical insurance is a scam. Now, both of them are wrong. Remember, a health insurance is a contract that you make with an insurance company. And when you are getting into a contract, it is your duty to understand the terms and conditions of that contract. When it comes to a medical insurance, in that there are three categories. The first category is an existing policy holder. An existing policy holder already has a medical insurance, but he needs to look at 3 points over here. The first one is the insurance adequate? For example, I have seen people who have insurance for 5 to 7 lakh. Now, do you think that in a metropolitan city where you get hospitalized for 3-4 days and the bill comes to 6 to 7 lakh, do you think a 5 lakh insurance is sufficient? The second one is people take their medical insurance without looking at sublimits and cappings. Make sure you don't have any sublimits or any cappings. And the third one is make sure your medical insurance company has a tie-up with the nearby hospital for a cashless service. Now, coming to the second category of people who have a medical insurance, they are the corporate medical insurance holders who are insured by their company. Over here, there are 4 points you need to remember. The first one is your family adequately insured as well? Sometimes only you are insured and your spouse and children are not insured. Second is, what about the uncertain times? What about a job loss? For example, let's take a situation of COVID. In COVID, people lost their jobs and they faced medical emergencies. At that point of time, you don't even have a job and you had to spend for your medical bills. What are you going to do at that point of time? And the third one is, if your company goes on a cost-cutting spree, they cut the insurance cover that you have to half. Do you think you still have adequate medical insurance? And the fourth one is the main one. This is the most important point. What about retirement? After you retire, you're not going to work for the same company. Hence, you don't have the medical insurance. At that point of time, you are old. There is a high possibility that you might have some medical issue. And at that point of time, it becomes very, very tough to get a medical policy because you will get the medical policy at the insurance company's terms and conditions and not at your terms and conditions. Now, coming to the third category of people. These are the people who don't have a medical insurance. 3 points to remember for them. The first one is a medical insurance is something that you have to get when you don't need it, because if you try to get it while you need it, you might get it at the company's terms and not at your terms. Second is, if you ignore your insurance and keep investing, a lot of people make this mistake. They ignore their medical insurance and they keep investing. One catastrophic event can wipe off years of investments and it can also get you into debt. Now, when you get into debt, there is more stress. When there is more stress, you are likely to deteriorate your health even further and increase your medical bills even more. The third point is medical inflation is at around 15%. Do you think you can cope up with this inflation without a medical insurance? Here is a screenshot of a person who was hospitalized during COVID and spent only 2 days in a hospital. It was in a metropolitan city and you can see the bill. And now tell me, do you still think that you don't really need a medical insurance? But again, I'll stress on this fact. Do not take a medical insurance before reading the terms and conditions that are attached to the medical insurance policy. Now, here are 4 important points you can look at when you go through the terms and conditions. First one is, most of the companies give you an insurance only if you are hospitalized for more than 24 hours. Look into the terms and conditions and see whether the insurance is covering you if you are hospitalized for less than 24 hours as well. Second is, for the first 30 days, there is no insurance cover. If you're diagnosed by a disease in the first 30 days, you cannot get the insurance unless and until you meet with an accident. Third one is the most important point, which is the pre-existing disease. If you have any pre-existing disease, you have to declare it. Understand that when you're filling that medical form, take it as a situation that you are hospitalized and the doctor is asking you your medical history. The answer that you will give your doctor at that point of time should exactly be the answer that you will be writing in the form while filling the medical insurance policy. The reason I say this is because if you are detected by any pre-existing disease, there is a chance that you will not get the money from the insurance company and they can declare your policy as null and void. The fourth one is there is a pre-existing waiting period as well. When it comes to problems like hernia, prostate, kidney stone, such medical issues are usually covered by the company after a certain period of time. You need to look into the terms and conditions and understand what is that period of time. Another very important point you need to keep in mind is permanent exclusions. There are certain diseases and certain medical issues that a company will never cover. For example, cosmetic surgery, HIV, mental disorders, etc. These will never be covered by the insurance company unless and until it is mentioned in the terms and conditions. Another fact that you need to keep in mind is if you are in a sport that is adventurous like bike riding or bike racing, and if you meet with an accident, that there is a possibility that they will not cover that. And even if you're drinking and driving, you meet with an accident, you have a huge medical bill to pay, you will not be covered under the insurance policy. Now when it comes to your medical bill, there are certain things that an insurance company will not cover. For example, PPE kits, the gloves that the doctors use, their masks. Such cost will be added to your own personal expenses. Lastly, there are 5 features that you need to keep in mind before taking a mediclaim. Be assured there is no room rent or capping. Why I say this is, take an example. If you are admitted in a hospital and the per day room rent of that hospital is 10,000, you have a mediclaim for 5 lakh which specifies that you will be allowed a room rent maximum till the limit of 1%. 1% of 5 lakh is 5,000. Hence the maximum that the company will pay you for is a 5,000 per day room rent. But the room that you have taken cost 10,000. What will happen in such a case is that when you get the entire bill, only 50% of that bill will be paid by the insurance company and the rest of the 50% will have to be paid from your own pocket. The only reason is because the room rent that you had was double than the maximum permissible room rent by the insurance company. Hence, make sure that you don't have any room rent or capping. Second point to keep in mind is no co-payment. What is the co-payment? If you have been insured till the amount of 5 lakh and your medical bill is only for 1 lakh, but you have a co-payment policy which says you need to pay 20% of the total bill. Hence, even though you had a 5 lakh cover, the medical bill was only for 1 lakh, you still have to pay 20,000 of that amount and 80,000 will be given by the insurance company. Hence, avoid this option. The third thing to keep in mind is maximum pre and post hospitalization. Say if a person meets with an accident, after the accident he needs to go to a physio to heal. He spends around 80 days at the physiotherapy. There is a medical bill to that as well, which the company will reimburse. Most of the times the company gives you a 60 and 90 day pre and post hospitalization. You can look for a policy where you're getting a 90 day and 180 day pre and post hospitalization period. The fourth one, a very important one, no claim bonus. No claim bonus is basically if you have a 5 lakh policy and you don't use that policy for the next year, the company gives you a bonus because you have not used up the policy. Usually it is 50% in the first year and goes up to 100% in the second year, which means if you have a 5 lakh policy and you don't use it, then after the first year, the 5 lakh policy will become a 7.5 lakh sum assured. And after the second year, if you don't use it, a 10 lakh sum assured. Hence, keep in mind that you have a good no claim bonus policy. And the last one is restoration benefit. There are policies where you take a family floater, which means that your entire family is covered in one policy. If the policy is worth 10 lakh and you have used the policy till 8 lakh, now if someone else in the family wants to use the same policy, they will restore the entire 8 lakh and the second person can also get the entire 10 lakh to use. In most policies, if you use the 8 lakh, the second person only gets 2 lakh to use. Hence, you need to look at the restoration benefit while selecting the policy. I'll just summarize this video for you in a minute. Firstly, insurance is not a scam, nor do you get paid each and every time. Read the terms and conditions before taking any decision. Next point is, if you are an existing policy holder, make sure you have an adequate cover, there are no sublimits, and you have a cashless service in the nearby hospital. If you are a corporate policy holder, understand there is a risk that your family might not be covered. You might not get any medical insurance after retirement. There is a chance that when the company goes into cost cutting, they might reduce your insurance cover by a huge margin. And if you lose a job and at the same time are faced by medical emergency like a situation in COVID, it becomes really tough to pay your bills. For those who don't have a medical insurance, understand the sooner you take it the better, because then you can take it on your terms and not the company's terms. Medical inflation is at around 15%. Ask yourself, can you keep up with that inflation? And don't make this mistake of ignoring your medical insurance and investing all your money in the market. Most companies have a 24-hour mandatory hospitalization policy. For the first 30 days, for any illness or disease, you won't get covered unless and until you met with an accident. Pre-existing diseases will not be covered for the first 2 or 3 years. Please disclose them while filling the form. Pre-existing waiting period for certain diseases like kidney stone, hernia, etc. will be given in the terms and conditions. Read that before taking any decision. There are other permanent exclusions like drinking and driving not allowed, doing some stunt with your bike and you may meet with an accident, that's not allowed. Some certain diseases like HIV are not allowed. Keep those in mind. Certain items are not covered by the insurance company like gloves, PP kits and masks that are used by doctors. You'll have to pay it from your own pocket. Make sure you have no room rent or no room cap and the co-payment option is not there. Go for the maximum pre and post hospitalization cover. Look at the no claim bonus and the restoration benefit.